and welcome to this edition of Inside View. My name is Cory Burnell, and I'll be your host for this episode. And our guest today is Scott Behiel, who's the Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity here in Calaveras County. And so we're lucky to have you join us, Scott. I think everybody's going to find this interesting.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, you bet. Well, so how long have you been the Executive Director here locally?
A little over a year and a half.
Okay.
And we've seen a lot of big changes. We're an affiliate of Habitat for Humanity International, and we've been around since 1994. And in that time, we've built 16 houses. We've repaired hundreds of others. But when they brought me on, the idea was to step this up and do a little more. So we have a lot going on. We're working on a 100-plus unit subdivision in Angels Camp.
Yeah.
We have a robust home repair program. We got USDA funding to do a lot of the home repairs. We are building homes, probably about one every 6 months until we get the subdivision off the ground.
Wow.
And so we have a lot going on.
Well,
all right here in Calaveras County.
That's exciting. And, some of our viewers are probably going to recognize you as a former mayor there in Angels Camp, and now you're onto new things, huh?
On to new things, yeah. It was fun learning how the city works, and now I'm trying to learn how affordable housing works. If that's not an oxymoron, I don't know.
Right. Yeah, it does seem to be kind of an impossible case in California at times, huh?
Very difficult.
Yeah. Well, so this was news to me that Habitat for Humanity does so many of the various projects that you talked about. When I think of Habitat for Humanity, I think of Habitat for Humanity International and building homes for the really impoverished, those are in the third world, for example. But to know that there are actually far more ways in which Habitat's involved in helping people with their home needs. So why don't you talk a little bit about the homes being built here in Calaveras County, and then maybe we'll get into the repair side of things too.
Sure. With Habitat International, they've been around since, I think, the early 70s. And they've done a wonderful job throughout the entire world. I think they're the largest nonprofit home builder in the world. But here in California, and especially in Calaveras County, we have to do things a little bit differently. The Habitat model International doesn't really work here because we're limited in funds. If you go to parts of Africa or South America, the houses cost an average of $4,500 each.
Wow.
Here that doesn't even pay for, not even come close to paying for a water hookup.
Right.
So we have to do things differently. So the USDA steps in, United States Department of Agriculture. Their job is to bolster rural areas. So they step in and they will offer home loans that are very affordable. They're longer term, 33 to 38 years. Interest rates range from 1% to 3%. There's no mortgage insurance, there's no down payment. So with their help, we're able to provide affordable mortgages to home buyers that wouldn't otherwise be able to purchase a home in the county. So our job is to find land, build the house with the help of the homeowners. They have to put in about 500 hours of sweat equity.
Oh, okay.
So they're out there pounding hammers, paintbrush. They're learning how a house works, how the plumbing works, how the electrical works, how the water heaters work, that kind of thing. And then they're also going through financial literacy courses to help them manage budgets and know what it takes to own a home. And then when it's all said and done, we've partnered, and they've ended up helping to build their own home. The USDA has helped financing it, and we throw in some of our own financing as well to subsidize it to make it affordable.
Wow.
So, but you have to pay, the homeowners still have to pay a mortgage, so they still have to make money. So a typical perfect situation would be a family of four making $50,000 to $60,000 a year. So that's your local workforce, and that's who we're targeting. It's not for, at this time, until we can build up a big enough war chest to subsidize very low income housing, it's not for the extremely low income housing. It's for the people who are working for a living, and we think that they deserve a decent place to come home to after a hard day's work.
Right.
So that's who we're focusing on the home build side.
Yeah, very interesting. So it's not, very different than what I had brought up about my original concept of Habitat, in that really you're solving the problem based on, well, what's the issue in this particular community, which is obviously you can't build a $4,500 house, right?
Right.
So it's a much more creative way in which to give somebody a home based on the economic circumstances that they're in the community
Correct.
that they're in. Very interesting.
Correct.
When you said some of the financing comes from Habitat and some comes from the USDA, what kind of proportion is there?
A typical situation might be maybe we build a house that is worth $300,000, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And the home buyer that we choose, we go through a process to select a homeowner, and that homeowner, maybe they can afford $260,000. So Habitat will throw in a second mortgage of $40,000.
I see.
And it'll be interest-free or interest waived, for a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can pay it back at the end when they sell the house or 30 years later or something like that. So there's a cash subsidy that we will put into this.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that cash is available through grants to Habitat, or sometimes it comes from people opening up their checkbooks and helping us out.
Yeah.
So it's really important that we have the community support, and that's been fantastic. Ever since I've taken over, doors have been open for me, and people have been really helpful and really generous, and it's fun to see that side of our community.
Yeah, yeah, sure can be.
Yeah.
Well, and like you mentioned just a moment ago, the type of homes that you're building in our community are really for the lower income workforce to have a decent place to own. And talk a little bit about the benefit to the community with regard to that provision of housing. Some of the challenges we have as a community in that regard, keeping employees or
Sure. Our biggest project right now, we're still probably 2 years, maybe 3 years away from actually building the houses,
Mm-hmm.
is we're trying to create a subdivision in Angels Camp that'll have a little over 100 units. And that'll be a mixture of mostly single-family houses, about 1,200 square feet, 2-car garages, on their own parcels, and also condominiums or
Okay.
that type of thing. With those homes, we'll not only benefit the families that are coming in, we're also going to benefit the community in a number of ways. First, there's a tax basis to the city, so our essential services, police, fire, our schools will get tax funds off of that. That'll all be improved. But also the local employers and local business owners in town. Not only will they get a brand new clientele, a few hundred more people in town to buy their products, but they'll have a place for their employees to live. And that's critical. I've talked to a number of employers, and their turnover rates in town are as much as, I've heard, 200%.
That's incredible.
So imagine if you have 30 employees and you've got to hire 60 every year just to stay in business.
Wow.
The complaint is once the employee finds a place to work closer to home, they move. Mm-hmm. We have such a shortage of housing for our workforce in this county that our employers are finding it difficult to maintain a workforce. And that stability is something that we hope to provide.
Yeah.
So, everybody wins.
Mm-hmm.
It's the pride of ownership that these folks are going to have instead of renting a 2-bedroom apartment when you've got a husband and wife and 2 or 3 kids in a 2-bedroom apartment. That's tough.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll try to get them in good, stable homes and have them hang around for a while.
Well, it's particularly interesting the requirement of them having some buy-in for the way of sweat equity, for example, and of course they are purchasing the home, though it be at a subsidized rate to make it affordable, but it is still a purchase rather than a charitable grant to them, really.
Right.
All right, so that's a little bit about the homes that, you build one about every 6 months?
We're up until now, we've built one about every 18 months. We're trying to build a little bit quicker as we go.
Okay.
We're finding new avenues to generate funds to be able to do that. So we're going to build one this spring in Copperopolis, and if that all goes well, and I have every reason to believe that it will, we will be looking for more areas to build houses until we're able to actually break dirt on the subdivision. Then we'll be focusing on those 100 units.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that again, follow up. Where's that scheduled to be at? Is it land already secured? Is it?
It is. It was a large donation from a very generous couple.
Yeah.
17 acres in Angels Camp off Capello Drive on the north end of town.
Excellent.
And so it's there right now. There's an apartment complex and a church and a industrial type building there. Behind that, stretching all the way down just about to Tractor Supply is where our parcel is. And so we're in the process of getting it designed and engineered and going through the steps to get that done.
Wow.
Trying to get it shovel ready to build these homes.
Yeah. Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah.
And then the next thing I wanted to talk about beyond the homes was the repair projects, because I had no idea that Habitat was involved in offering help in that regard. So tell our viewers a little bit about that.
Yeah, and I appreciate your help in this outreach, because it is important that everybody knows.
Yeah.
For lower income folks, and again, it's not just the very low income. It's up. A family of four can make up to $60,000 and still qualify for these home repairs. A homeowner that needs our help, we'll go in there and provide critical repairs, new roofs, new steps, porches, decks, siding, all kinds of different things. Right now, we're doing reducting all the duct work from the HVAC system on a house, on an older house, because most of these repairs are repairing rot and dilapidated condition. You know, it's a long-term homeowner, so it happens that most of our repair clients are senior citizens, and they're in need of help to stay in their homes in a safe environment.
Right.
If you have to walk around on a rotted deck, or your steps are rotting out, that could lead to injury. If your house is really drafty because the windows don't fit right anymore, or you got a roof leak or something, the illness in there. So we're trying to prevent illness and injury by providing these critical home repairs. And typically the way it works is that the homeowner will put up the first $100. With Habitat, it's always a hand up and not a handout. You've got to buy in, you've got to help. This is not an entitlement. So a homeowner puts up the first $100. Typically for senior citizens or someone with disability or someone with extremely low income, we'll kick in the next $2,000. And again, that comes from donations or grants or wherever we can scrape up the money. And then anything that's over that, we will offer interest-free financing for 5 to 7 years, as long as it takes to keep the payments affordable. And so we can make these home repairs that are critical go from, I don't know where I'm going to get this done, to, okay, I can handle this.
Yeah.
And we get it done. And we use licensed contractors in town. One of our biggest challenges, I've got 15 or 16 applications on my desk right now that I need to match with a contractor.
Wow.
And so finding local contractors to help out is difficult, not because they don't want to help, because we will pay them for their job, but it's because they're just so busy, and there are not a lot of, there's really a lack of new and young, hungry contractors out there that need to get the traction that we can provide. So it's a challenge.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting point about doing this show, and for those contractors who may be looking for work or something to fill, some voided time. Hopefully, they'll reach out to you on that. In that regard.
That'd be great.
And it's interesting you say critical repairs. These are not aesthetic repairs, right? I can't get a brand new kitchen if I just want one, right? I mean,
correct. We provide a lot of brand new bathrooms.
Yeah.
People need ADA or handicap accessibility.
Yeah.
And so we have to remodel bathrooms. We've done a few of those. We do a lot of ramps, a lot of access issues. Today I had a call, somebody wanted me to build a fence so they can leave town to visit family and have their dogs not run around.
Yeah.
Well, we don't build fences. It's just not a critical home repair.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so that distinction. Of course, with limited resources, you have to make distinctions like that, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. We do have grant funding, but we do have limited resources, so we try to be pretty wise with our money.
Yeah.
And when we do go into a house, a homeowner might call and say, I need a new deck and new windows and such. And we go in there, we see some electrical issues, or we see some things that are more that we consider more dangerous. So we kind of do a triage, and we'll say, okay, we really want to take care of this, this, and this, and we try really hard not to ever leave a house that we've worked on with any dangerous situations remaining. So if it's too much for us, we'll say, this is too much, or we'll try to tackle what we can and come back.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's definitely about health and safety.
Yeah, sure sounds like it. Now, with regard to how Habitat raises its funds, if our viewers wanted to be donors or volunteers, how are ways in which we as a community can get involved with what Habitat's doing?
Right. So we have a website. It's habitatcalaveras.org.
Okay.
So not too tough to remember, habitatcalaveras.org. And there, you can go to that site, and there are donate buttons, and there are volunteer buttons, and fillable forms, and that type of thing. So you can go to that site to donate. We'd love to. We call it our foundation builders. Those are folks who donate $25 or $50 a month off their credit card. We really appreciate them, because that's a stable source of funding that we can count on.
Right.
People can also click donating. Volunteer. We need volunteers on our home repairs sometimes. We need volunteers on our home builds, but also we need volunteers in our restore. We have a restore in San Andreas that we bring in gently used furniture, appliances, building supplies, some new stuff too, and we resell it.
Okay.
And then we also have an opportunity for people to apply for the home repairs or apply for a home build. All can be done online at habitatcalaveras.org.
Yeah. And if you're a contractor watching this interested in working with Habitat locally, I imagine they just contact you through the contact information on the site there.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
That's interesting. A restore. This is something I'm not familiar with either. Talk a little bit about how that works, where you get, I imagine people can donate to the store.
Absolutely. We have it's about a 5,000 or 6,000 square foot store on the corner of Pool Station Road and Highway 49.
Mm-hmm.
And we will actually come out and we'll pick up big stuff. So if people have furniture, appliances, table saws, tools that are sitting around not being used, those are perfect donations for us. And so they can call the restore at 754-3234. And also they can go on habitatcalaveras.org and find them there as well. And they will help in the donation process. So like I said, we'll go to people's houses, we'll pick up the bigger stuff. They can drop off stuff. We're open 9 to 4 on Monday through Saturday.
Okay.
And the proceeds from the sales of the items at the restore all go to Habitat to help the repair and the home build and help us do what we do. So and again, the community support has been fantastic. It's unbelievable what people donate.
Yeah.
And it's fun. It's something different every day.
Yeah.
So it's worth checking out.
And any things that were most surprising or unusual to you?
There's one thing I wanted to get us, didn't have room for. It was a big old huge corkscrew, for a
Really?
wine. I think it was about this tall and this big, and it looked great. We got one of those in and sold pretty quick. And we've had some antique desks, that type of stuff in there, and some tools come in. I have no idea what they're for.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's this for? Next thing you know, so hey, I'll take that. So it goes pretty quick. But old telephones, the kind you wind up and listen to.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so just lots of goofy stuff.
Yeah.
But a lot of building supplies. The local hardware stores have been, really supportive. A lot of their unsold inventory comes through us, so they're clearing their shelf for one reason or another, and we'll go pick up pallets of brand new stuff from the hardware stores.
Wow.
So that helps out too.
Absolutely.
Lots of paint.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, it sounds like not only some day-to-day useful items that people will find there, but also some unusual things they couldn't find at any other store.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to stop in and take a look sometime.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can find us on Facebook also.
Okay.
And they do a good job every day. They're posting pictures of different things that we have there.
Yeah.
And there's getting to be quite a following on that. So.
Excellent.
Yeah, that helps out.
Now, one thing that was of interest, you mentioned about the development that's about 100 homes. You talked a little bit about condos as well, right? So I've kind of been of the understanding that there's a lack of kind of multifamily housing, like condos and apartments in our county. Is that accurate? And does this help solve that, or am I just off base with that?
No, you're spot on. The county and also the city, they have housing elements. And the state mandates, hey, you guys have to provide a certain amount of affordable housing, and both the city and the county are lacking in completing that. And if you look, they have to publish their reports and things. And if you look at, why haven't you done this, city or county? They're going to say lack of personnel and lack of funds. And so our subdivision is going to check all the boxes. Our goal is to check all the boxes in the housing element for the city. So The reason for the condos is it allows us to build something that's a little bit less costly, so that we can help out folks that are in the lower income range.
Yeah.
And so if we're successful in building the single family houses and then we'll build up enough profit from those that we can plow that profit right back in to subsidize the others. Another nice thing about the condos is we can have a homeowners association. So there's an element of control. And
Okay.
we'll probably, we're not sure yet, but we'll probably have that with the houses as well. And we'll put Habitat on the board of the homeowners association and that type of thing, so we can maintain the integrity of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
We don't want to create a blight in our town. We want this to be working class people. If you know the reference, I want this to be Bailey Park and not Pottersville.
It's so interesting you bring that up, because I thought, you're really doing the work of the Bailey Building and Loan
Exactly.
in Bedford Falls, right?
Exactly. It feels like that sometimes. But
Yeah.
that is the goal, is to find a place for hardworking people to be able to rest their heads at night. And that's the goal. We want a neighborhood that we want the neighbors, and I envision the neighbors helping build each other's houses. We ask for the 500 hours of sweat equity. It doesn't have to be on your house. It doesn't even have to. It can be in the restore. It can be whatever. A lot of people aren't physically capable of doing a lot of things, so we can get creative with the volunteer hours. But I anticipate a lot of people, getting out there and helping pour a number of foundations,
Sure.
or help frame a number of the houses. So you're all building each other's houses.
Right.
How strong is that community?
Right.
And we want to maintain that strength of community throughout the subdivision and throughout the city.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. I thought it had to be on their own home, so thank you for mentioning that, because the idea that really it's a contribution to Habitat
Right.
is what's required of them, right?
Exactly. And the actual family is required to put up 200 hours. The other 300 hours can be made up with friends and family
Oh,
who
okay.
come down and donate their time on behalf of the homeowner.
Okay.
So it truly is a community. So the whole family's involved, everybody's involved, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It really is a lot of fun. You're out there swinging hammers, and and you're side by side with the homeowner, with other people, and
Good old barn raising,
good
huh?
old barn raising. Yeah, good old community get together, and it actually is quite fun.
Yeah.
A lot of people who volunteer. I hear stories all the time about people who volunteer on Habitat builds, and they still talk about it today, and like it was yesterday, even though it was 30 years ago. It's a pretty profound act and something they remember for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
So yeah, looking forward to having a lot of that.
Yeah, very, very cool. Well, yeah, and Habitat Calaveras has been here since 1994, you said, huh? So what are some of the projects that Habitat's done here in the past that maybe we as local residents would be familiar with? Is it all single-family homes that have been done before? It sounds like this new development is the first, perhaps.
Yeah, this new development is definitely a first. They have been single-family homes scattered throughout the county.
Okay.
The nature of our affiliate has changed. It used to be one gentleman who was part-time in a little tiny office, and they would save up enough money to build a house and go build a house, and then they'd do it again. So it would take a year and a half sometimes to save the
Okay.
money. So that model wasn't really working. Actually, I can't say it wasn't working. It worked for 20 years.
Sure, and
you
it
know,
built some houses.
And they built some houses and
Yeah.
got some people in there. But there's a new board involved, and this board is a lot more aggressive, and they wanted to make a much larger impact in the county. And a lot of it is too, you can't help but see studies and see the news that housing shortages everywhere, prevalent throughout the state. So we do want to have a much larger impact, and that's why they decided to hire a full-time executive director. We have some other employees we've brought on, and we are working very, very hard to make a larger impact in the county. Wow. And I think people are starting to see that.
Well, yeah, I think our viewers are going to be surprised by the scope here of what's being offered and done by Habitat here, right here in our own backyard.
Right. We were just recognized by Assemblyman Frank Bigelow as the nonprofit of the year for the 5th District. He and his assistant Dana Jorgensen are working with us, and they stop by quite often to see what we're doing. So they're very aware of the efforts we're making, and so it's nice to get the recognition at the state level. So yeah, people are starting to realize the scope of this, and 100 homes, it's a big deal.
Yeah, it
It's a
really
real big
is.
deal.
It makes me think you said there's a new board. I imagine that board probably has members in the business community in our county that are interested in making sure that this type of housing is available for employees. Quite an interesting take on solving a private sector need through a private charity organization rather than looking for government to solve it, you might
Right.
say.
We are, was it Prop SB 1 and 2 last election? The number 2 author of the bill was a Habitat executive.
Yeah.
And so we are, we're not ignoring the government. We are, the voters passed bond funds for this purpose. And so, in fact, tomorrow morning I'll be in Sacramento at a workshop for a grant program.
Yeah.
And to try and generate those funds.
Yeah, a public-private partnership, you might say, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we're talking about the 100-unit subdivision in Angels Camp, we're sitting down with the city planners. We're sitting down with the city and say, what do you need? How can we make this work? And they're helping us by reducing a lot of the fees and accepting easements as dedicated roads, and they're just doing things that the city can do,
Yeah.
helping us out with zoning issues and that type of thing, so that this runs as smoothly as possible.
Sure, makes good
The
sense.
city really wants this project too. Like I said, it satisfies their housing element. It's something that, and it also generates a lot of tax dollars. So the city's been wonderful to work with.
Yeah, good. Yeah, yeah. A lot of pros and not many cons, from what I can see there.
Right.
What's your time commitment as the executive director? It sounds like with all this going on, you must be swamped, I would think.
I'm swamped.
Yeah.
It's busy. There's in addition to the repairs, the bills, the managing the restore.
Yeah.
We're servicing mortgages. We're fundraising. We're doing all this stuff, and it's very, very busy. I personally want to stick this out until the subdivision is at least up and running and solid. That's a big deal. That's kind of my project, my pet project, and I really want to see that done before I leave.
It'll be a very cool legacy. What's the time frame on that?
We're probably, I'm hoping to break dirt in about 2 years, maybe as early as July or the fall of 21.
Yeah.
Some of it depends on the city. The city has some busted sewer pipes that have to be replaced before it can add more sewer capacity.
Sure.
And it's just a repair job, and that's going to take a couple of years. So once I know that job is, once they break dirt and I know that job is going to happen, then I can go ahead and do the same on our project. So timeline's a little uncertain, but again, I'm told the city's working hard on it. They've redoubled their efforts to get this done, so I have faith they'll get it done.
That's exciting, Scott. Yeah, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time.
It's going to happen. That's right.
Well, matter of time. We're running out of time here. We just do a half-hour show each show. But folks, we've been talking with Scott Behiel, the executive director of Habitat for Calaveras. I guess it's Habitat for Humanity, or do we call it Habitat Calaveras?
Habitat for Humanity Calaveras.
There you go. Okay, all those words in one.
That's right.
And you can find them at habitatcalaveras.org. So get on your computer and go check out the website and get in touch with Scott and his team there if you'd like to volunteer, donate, if you're a contractor who would like to do some work for Habitat here locally. Yeah, and go by the Restore. That's pretty cool. I'm going to go check that out. So thanks again for joining us, Scott. Look forward to having you again in the future.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us.